Hello guys, this is What About Nintendo. Today I'm here for another video. In this video I'm going to be going over the recent rumor from the Wall Street Journal about there being a new Switch hardware revision coming next year in 2019. What exactly will this be? Will it be a super powerful Switch Pro? Will it be a more battery efficient Switch? Or will it be some kind of portable only Switch Mini? I'm going to be going over all these theories in this video, so let's get right on into it. So, if you haven't seen the rumor, apparently a new Switch hardware revision is coming out next year in 2019, according to the Wall Street Journal. The same people who correctly predicted pretty much exactly what the Switch was going to be before it was announced. In fact, they predicted it so clearly when they showed off for the Switch reveal trailer, I was barely surprised. It wasn't really about what it was, but more about what it looked like. That the only thing I didn't know. I knew exactly how it was going to work, and they got it on point. So I kind of trust these guys, but still it's a rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. Some people can get misinformation from sources. It's possible. Even a reputable source can be wrong if they, get a news source or their source happens to hear something incorrectly. So still take it with a grain of salt. But this is what they had to say. They said, Nintendo plans to release a new version of the Switch video game console next year to maintain the sales momentum of the device, according to suppliers and others with direct knowledge of the plan. Nintendo is still debating what new hardware and software features to include in the upgrade and weighing the cost of the features, people with knowledge of the discussion said. One option is to simply improve the display. The current Switch uses a lower-end liquid crystal display without some technologies that are standard in more recent smartphone LCDs. Updating this display with these technologies would make it brighter, thinner, and more energy efficient. The updated Switch, however, is not expected to adopt the organic light emitting diode or OLED panels used in Apple's iPhone X series. Nintendo is looking to release the new Switch in the latter half of 2019, perhaps as soon as summer. A Nintendo spokesman, however, declined to comment. The upgraded Switch would likely share many features with the current version and be compatible with existing Switch game software. Software makers and others in the industry are watching whether Nintendo will clarify the future of its handheld 3DS video game devices when it decides on the next Switch. An executive at one software maker said the 3DS was increasingly overshadowed by smartphones and that are well suited to portable games. He said that he was waiting for a clear message from Nintendo about what it would do with the 3DS series when it puts out a new Switch. So obviously there's not a lot of information here, but I think that I've narrowed the options down to probably 3 different options that I think are likely. And that is first, a Switch Pro, which is a more powerful Switch. 2, a Switch, what I like to call Switch Eco, which would be a more battery efficient Switch. Or number 3, a Switch Mini, which people have been, kind of thinking would happen. They've been rumoring it for a while, which is, something that's just a handheld only version of the Switch. So let's get more into detail of what I think could happen with each of these devices. So for a Switch Pro, obviously this would be focused on the power of the Switch. One of the biggest downfalls, I think, of the Switch, and the thing I hear complaints about the most, is that the Switch is underpowered, and that is something that cannot be denied. Compared to the Xbox One and the PS4, the Switch is underpowered. While it may be the most powerful, handheld out there right now of any of the big three, it is very weak when you consider it as a home console. So something that they could easily fix this and get more people into the Switch and get people to buy a second Switch if you've already bought one, would be to release a Switch Pro, one that's more powerful, both docked and undocked. So I think this has the potential of even having a 1080p screen. So most games I don't think in handheld mode would actually hit 1080p. But ones that are 720p or 640p I think would reach closer to that 900p mark, and a very small amount might actually hit 1080p, enough though to warrant them actually putting on a 1080p display. Kind of what we have now where there's a 720p display on the Switch, but a lot of games don't quite hit that 720p mark, including Nintendo's own games like Mario Odyssey and Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I think games like that are 360p or 480p like Wolfenstein 2, we get a lot closer to that 720p margin, just kind of making that just a lot clearer in handheld mode, because some of the games are kind of blurry. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I'm looking at you. If we get a Switch Pro, you better be a lot less blurry in handheld mode. So the way I think they could accomplish this is actually using the Tegra X2, which is more battery efficient, while also being a fair bit more powerful than the Tegra X1 that's currently in the Switch, up to 1.5 teraflops of power versus the X1's max just over 1 teraflop. Also, it has more efficient, RAM and CPU, and just everything about it is more powerful while using less or the same amount of energy as the Tegra X1. However, I doubt they'd use it to its full potential, but I think they would opt to lower it closer to the max of the X1 or a little bit above that to save on battery power. However, this doesn't mean that it would be the same power as the Switch, as if you didn't know, the X1 is actually very limited. The one version in the Switch is very limited. They lowered the clocks a lot. It's probably down to 70% of its power even in docked mode, so having something that runs closer to the full potential of the X1, or even a little bit above that, will be a significant upgrade compared to the original version of the Switch. Likely, I think this would make handheld mode close to the current power of the docked mode in the Switch that we have right now, and the docked mode would be a lot closer to that of the Xbox One. The X2 actually probably would have been in the base Switch if it wasn't so new at the time. The X2 is just pretty much a way better version of the X1, more battery efficient, while also being more powerful. It's got the 16 nanometer FinFET processor compared to the 20 nanometer, which is just so much more efficient, also being smaller so you can fit it on a smaller die, making more room for perhaps a bigger battery or more RAM. This just would have been a way better option. However, it was newer at the time, and fitting these kind of new technologies in probably would have increased the Switch's price to $350, perhaps even $400. However, it's been by the time this Switch revision will come out, it had been over 2 years since the Switch came out, so I think they could actually get a Switch Pro coming out with 30 to 50% more power compared to the original Switch for the same $300, while lowering the price of the Switch to $200 to $250, especially if they work out a good deal with Nvidia. Nvidia has been getting a lot more money from their handheld division since the Switch has come out, by like a lot more money. So I think they would definitely be interested in getting out a Switch Pro and giving Nintendo some good prices on the Tegra X2, which also should be significantly cheaper than when the Switch originally launched. So I think they could definitely get it out for $300 and lower the price of the original Switch as well, which would just make Switches fly off the shelves. The original Switch for $200 to $250, the way the sales are already, I would expect it to double, if 50% to 100% more sales, just because that $50 to $100 price drop would be insane. While also having, I think the Switch Pro would sell a lot too, because a lot of people's biggest complaints with the Switch is the lack of power, which, as I said earlier, is undeniable, and this will get it a lot closer as in docked mode to that Xbox One PS4 goal. So my second option is a Switch Mini, something with the same power level as the current Switch, but with a bigger battery, a more efficient screen to get that battery life out. Since this is a handheld only version, you want the battery life to just be way better than it is the current Switch. This also is, as I said, handheld only. This would not come with a dock. I think that could lower $50 to $100 off. And there have been some people suggesting that there would be Joy-Cons built into it. Instead of being able to, slide off the Joy-Cons, you would just get it, as the base machine, and these would kind of be, built in to it rather than being able to remove it. However, I really don't see this happening, just because there are a lot of Nintendo products that if they did that, would not work. Labo would not work. Labo, you need removable controllers to use Labo. It wouldn't fit. If you tried to fit this whole thing, like this size, into it, it would not fit. It would not work. You need detachable Joy-Cons to use a lot of the features. Labo would just not work with this kind of Switch. Also, Mario Party. They have the different modes. Toad's Rec Room where you put different switches together. This would highly limit how much that would actually work, not being able to really do it from this side or over here or this side. You wouldn't really be able to do it as well because there'd be huge gaps. Meanwhile on the Switch there's just this small little gap where the bezel is, which is a lot less intrusive and works. So I just think for those two reasons I don't really see them doing a Switch with built-in controllers. However, it is possible that they would do ones with maybe less functions in the controllers themselves, while you could buy different Joy-Cons if you wanted to get like HD Rumble. Maybe they would do one without HD Rumble, maybe just had normal Rumble or no Rumble at all. Maybe it wouldn't come with motion controls, they would just have motion controls in the base unit itself, and the controllers wouldn't have motion controls. And you could just buy, if you wanted to do games that need them, you could just buy the controllers. I think that would look a lot better than having controllers built in, where you don't even have the option to upgrade if you want, just because they're built into it. You can't remove them, so you're just kind of screwed. So I think that would be a lot better. Just have kind of more simple Joy-Cons that come with it to lower the initial cost. But if you want those more advanced features, you can just buy regular Joy-Cons and they work with the unit as well. And then the third option, which I think is the least likely one to happen, is what I like to call the Switch Eco, which is a Switch that's all about improving the battery life of the console. This one would have the same power level, but it'd have a more efficient screen and a bigger battery like the Switch Mini. And, you know, it'd just be pretty much the same exact Switch, just it now has bigger battery life, and it would have a dock and all that kind of stuff as well, just like the normal Switch. I just don't think this is likely because I don't see that many people buying it, to be honest. With this, I think it would have to be probably more expensive. It also could have like more storage and stuff, but it'd be probably $50 to $100 more expensive if you got all this stuff in here. And I just don't see why people would buy it as much as the other two options. The Switch Mini would be perfect for Pokemon. You wanted to get a second Switch. Maybe you had several family members and you all wanted to play Pokemon, but you all wanted to have your own Switch. Well, just get them the Switch Mini. Then you can have, it's a much easier way to get multiple Switches in the same household. Having a $200 Switch Mini versus this $350 Switch Eco. The Switch Mini, as I said earlier, better battery life while also being on the go. Also, the Switch Pro would probably have the same or even a little bit better battery life for an even more powerful Switch. So honestly, I don't think the Switch Eco is with it. They could go for it. Maybe they do go for it. Maybe it has extra storage. Maybe that really draws people in. But I just don't see this being that big a deal, especially since you can just upgrade the storage. And honestly, you can upgrade the storage with these microSD cards way cheaper than Nintendo can actually put more built-in storage. That's why they opted for these SD cards, because they're a lot cheaper than them putting extra flash memory into the Switch. It just is so much cheaper. So honestly, the Switch Eco or something with, you know, better battery efficiency and more storage just doesn't seem like the best way for Nintendo to go. It'd probably be the most expensive one for the least amount of upgrades. Honestly, I think they would probably go with a Switch Pro or a Switch Mini. At this point, it's kind of a... they might release both, to be honest. Maybe... oh, I think they would release a Switch Mini first, just because I think the Switch Mini would be, as I said, perfect for those who want to play Pokemon and have several family members who all want to play the game, but they don't want to buy $300 dock Switches for people who are only going to play in handheld mode with this Pokemon. Maybe playing dock mode every once in a while, you just need one Switch with a dock to do that. So you get one Switch with the dock, and then you get a bunch of other Switch Minis for $200 with better battery life, so you can play Pokemon on the go for longer, more efficient screens, you know, all that good stuff, while also being much cheaper. Though I do think the Switch Pro is also very likely. As I said, the X2 probably would have been in the Switch if the Switch had come out a year or so later. And I think now, by the time this comes out, it'd been over 2 years since the Switch came out. they could definitely get the Switch Pro out for $300 and maybe even lower the price of the current Switch to $200, which would have the same effect as the Switch Mini, but also giving you a more powerful Switch. However, I don't have the exact number, so it's hard to say if they could get it out for $300, but if they could get this out for $300 and lower the price of the current Switch to $250 or $200, that would be a major breakthrough. That's honestly the one I want the most, because that's my biggest issue with the Switch, is that it's underpowered. I do love my Switch, and I love the games, and I love HD Rumble, and I love being able to play it on the go, but when I'm playing in dock mode, some of these games, I'm just like, oof. And I just like, especially third-party games, I'm really tempted to get them on the PC, but if they could get this to be more powerful, I would get a lot more games on the Switch, and I think a lot of people are like that. Anyways, guys, that's all for this video. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below. Do you think we might get a Switch Pro, maybe a Switch Eco, maybe a Switch Mini, or maybe an entirely different type of Switch that I didn't think of in this video? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on this kind of stuff. So yeah, also make sure to hit that subscribe button for more videos like this Tuesdays, Thursdays, and I'm trying to do Saturday videos as well. Gameplay live streams Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and Coffee Talk Monday through Friday where I chat with all you guys about the latest Nintendo news in a live format. Also make sure to share this video with all your friends and family and that weird uncle you don't really talk to that much, but you're like, well, you probably like this video. Who knows? Maybe that weird neighbor, you're just like, I don't really talk to this guy, but I like, what about Nintendo? He should get more views. So I'm going to share it with this guy. You know what I'm saying. So yeah, share it with everyone you know. And just have a great day. I'll see all you guys later on What About Nintendo. Bye.